go through this and see if we can resolve as many issues as possible, right?
Yes, sir.
So I'll go as quickly as you want to go.
Excellent.
Okay. Hi, Agent Shu and Agent Martin. I'm Chris Paul. And thank you for coming here today. And I'm really excited to talk about my tax return with you today. And actually, you may not know that I'm very passionate about tax. Yeah.
Really?
And yes, and so that's why I prepared my tax return in the past years, and I consider it as my second profession
Really?
besides basketball. Yeah.
Wow. Good
And
combination.
thank you. And so that's why I insisted on being present in this meeting,
Okay.
because I want to learn more about tax.
Understood.
Yeah. And
Understood.
yeah, and I know you're very busy right now because LA just has so many tax people to deal with.
Yes.
Yeah, so I really appreciate the opportunity to come here today and to let us explain some of the areas that we may have some disagreements on.
Sounds great.
Yeah, so
Sounds great. Let's
yeah.
go.
Let's go.
Alright, Agent Shu, I'll start. I was just looking at the bonds that Mr. Paul had invested in. And I'll start with the U.S. Treasury bond. We do agree with your opinion on that. We want to apologize, obviously, as Chris had
I've been doing
mentioned.
this for 18 years. I might know something.
Yeah, as Chris
Sorry.
had mentioned, it's not his full-time career,
Okay.
so we're sorry about that. The second one I want to look at is the American Samoa General Obligation Bonds. And these bonds are part of the Section 103 of the IRS Code, and they are qualified as a state and local bond. They're an Indian tribal
Samoa's a
bond.
state?
Well, they're an Indian tribal government, which qualifies as a tax-exempt bond under Publication 550, which is
Samoa is?
yes,
Added to those Girl Scouts.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's sorry, it's on the next page in there, and it's highlighted. Sorry, one more page. That's a highlight.
Oh,
Sorry about that. But that's Publication 550 of the tax code, and this is that Indian tribal bonds or tribal government bonds do qualify for tax exemption.
So, I didn't know Samoa was a tribe, but,
Yeah, it's an Indian tribe in Hawaii.
oh, really?
Yep, which is a U.S. state. So,
Interesting. You have a listing of the actual bond? For some reason, this doesn't seem right that it's a tribal bond.
the bond
Is that
agreement.
Yeah, anything
We
about
have,
it, or a listing of the,
We have a bond confirmation here.
oh, that would be helpful.
It's listed under there, the American Tribal Samoa bond.
It says American Samoa.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if that's the same thing as a tribal, you know, I don't know. Maybe we'll figure it out. Let's go on to the next one just to see.
Okay. Alright, so the next bond that we went over is the WFU Baptist Medical Bond. And according to Section 145, letter C of the IRS tax code, that hospital is a qualified hospital bond, which is
okay.
also tax exempt. And I do have the IRS SOI tax exempt listing,
Oh, okay.
which is for the WFU Baptist Hospital,
Yeah.
which is right here. And so that bond would qualify
Okay.
for
Actually,
exemption.
that makes a lot of sense. I just probably overlooked that one, so I think that one could be granted for certain.
Okay. And then we'll move on to Tom.
Okay.
Sure. So as my client already spoke about, he's a man of many passions.
Yeah.
Obviously basketball and tax, but he's also an avid art collector.
Oh,
As you
yeah.
probably realized looking over his impressive art collection.
$500,000 deduction. I'd
Yes.
say that's impressive.
Yes, sir, it is. But Mr. Paul, although he's big into collecting art, he's a huge giver, especially at Wake Forest. And he donated this painting, as you already know. But I think your problem was with the process in which he did it, and he's donated so much in the past in terms of cash that he wasn't familiar with the different process. So he
okay.
really did the best he could. I think he had the best of intentions in terms of that donation. But as you can see, and as my colleague just showed, Wake Forest is a tax-exempt organization, so it counts as a charitable
Sure.
organization
That makes
that
sense.
he donated to, but he also did not fill out the proper documentation.
So
So
there was nothing in the return.
exactly.
It's
So
hard for me to grant that.
I'm completely with you. So that's why we're here. We want to make this as
Okay.
quickly as possible. So we went ahead and filled out the 8283, and we were lucky enough that Mr. Paul, Wake Forest did their own appraisal, but Mr. Paul actually used the same appraisers. It's a world-renowned group, Martin and Sons.
Oh, appraisal,
Yes.
that's helpful. You have to have
Yes,
an appraisal or
absolutely.
can't grant anything.
Right, and
So
Wake
that's-
Forest appraisal was in the year after his file, so we were lucky enough that Mr. Paul did his appraisal in the year before, the year of his filing. So as you can see, we filled out the 8283, and you have his
Wow.
appraisal here from Martin and
So
Sons.
you actually got an appraisal in the year that you did the deduction, huh?
Yeah,
That's impressive. I mean,
I'm sorry I didn't provide you
no,
with
that's,
information when I.
it's quite all right. And actually, dealing with a lot, I'm actually familiar with this appraisal, or this appraiser, so that makes sense.
Yeah, they've done a lot of work with Wake Forest in the past, and they came highly recommended.
One of the requirements, of course, of appraisal, another is to file this form with the return. And so, it wasn't attached to the return,
Right.
so why again did you not attach this to the return?
I'm sorry because I only prepared the tax return myself. I didn't ask them to help me at that time. And now they told me that I should include it in my return.
Mhm.
Yeah, and if
Now-
I may, I
yeah.
spoke with Mr. Paul about this, and he had been so used to so accustomed to the cash donations that he's done in the past, he didn't realize it was
That's
such a different
understandable.
process. So it was really no intent on his part.
It's, we do have leeway within the law to grant this as long as there's a reasonable cause and you have provided the documentation when requested. So, Mr. Paul, in future, please know you do need to get these appraisals as you did, otherwise I could not grant that.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, all right, great.
So that's why he's here. It's a learning experience for
That's great, Paul.
Excellent. And then the second topic in terms of also a donation is the car that he received in the All-Star game.
yeah, All-Star.
Yes,
Can I just say
absolutely.
one, I'm a big fan. I go to the games, I sat with Billy Crystal and stuff. Now, I grew up on a beat farm, but I play a little basketball myself.
Wow.
Right? Woo! There you go. All right, cool, all right.
Quick
I want
hands.
to say, I'm a big fan.
Sure.
I didn't mean to interrupt.
No interruption at all. I welcome you.
Okay.
So in terms of that gift, the prize, I mean, I agree with your assessment that
Gotta be income, right?
$110,000 as a prize.
Alright, so we agree.
Obviously,
Should we move on?
completely in agreement. But the problem is that it shouldn't have even been classified as a prize when he donated it to this charitable organization, because he had already driven 1,500 miles on it, as you saw. So this is the
You
receipt.
gave it to a charitable organization?
Yes, it's WFDD Radio Group, which is actually owned and operated by Wake Forest University, and we demonstrated earlier that Wake Forest University is a tax-exempt organization. But more importantly, WFDD FM Radio themselves are a tax-exempt organization, as you can hear in their financial statements. And they're also under the branch of NPR, and NPR itself is also a tax-exempt organization.
So he gave the car away? So-
Yes, absolutely.
So your position is because he gave it away, he should have reported an income?
No, well, we think that since he donated it as a gift, very similar to the painting, the fair market value of it at that time should be deducted. And so we did two of the most.
So you should have recorded an income, but you're asking for a charitable deduction?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, and so we did two separate valuations of the car from the two most trusted online valuations, and the smallest came out to $73,000. So we thought that was most reasonable, especially in accordance with his mistake. So we think it's fair and reasonable that the $110,000 be obviously recognized as income, but due to the donation, that would be a $73,000 deduction. So $37,000 would be reported as income.
Do you know what the radio station did with the car?
Yeah, he basically handed it to his agent and made sure that there's a receipt that they received it. But
There's a receipt that they received it?
yes, I just passed
Of
it
this
to them.
very,
Yes,
of this
yes,
donation?
Mhm.
But you
And
don't know what
they-
to do with it?
They planned on using it as a sweepstakes, and like a giveaway as part of the organization, but we haven't heard any confirmation as to what exactly they've done with it. They might still be in their possession.
Usually when you donate a car to an organization, they provide you with some documentation, like a 1098-C. Do you have anything like that?
I'm sorry, we don't, but how about we move on to our business loan?
Sure, we can move on and come back to that if you like. We have the
Come back to
receipt, we have the
that.
receipt there.
That's that document. Let's just move on.
Yeah,
Sure.
the next item we want to talk about is the 200,000 business loan.
To his cousin.
Yeah, Jason Paul.
I'd like to have a cousin give me $200,000.
But it's,
Awesome gift.
yeah, we know that you stated that it should be totally personal, but actually investing in young and talented basketball player is part of Mr. Paul's business, and he has done this with other two players before, like
Okay.
Deshaun Wood and Derek Myers. As you
Yeah.
can see, these are their bios, and they each signed an agreement with Mr. Paul before, stating that, as you can see here, stating that Mr. Paul is entitled 50% of their future annual salary as long as they play professionally. Yeah, so in 2011, Mr. Paul still got payment from these two players, and he also included the profit of doing this in his Schedule C. It is the net profit from business.
So you have treated all the income receipts in this as business and pay taxes on it, huh?
Yeah, definitely. So
That's
investing,
pretty compelling evidence.
yeah, so investing in these young players is definitely a business. So the 2,100 loan should be considered as a business debt. Yeah.
Now, I know about Derek and Sean. I followed their college career, but
Yeah.
I've never heard of your cousin before.
Actually, he
You really
was,
think that was a good business bet, betting on your
yeah,
cousin?
before like 2010, he was really a promising basketball player, but then he got injured. So, yeah, so that's why he cannot pay me back.
Mm.
So, actually,
So he
you
was
can,
injured?
investment have many risks, you cannot ever tell.
Did you try to collect? I mean, that's a lot of money.
Yeah,
for you
I
to-
tried very hard,
Yeah,
but
definitely.
he went bankrupt. Yeah.
Mhm.
He had,
Oh, bankrupt.
yeah,
Yeah,
he had a certificate showing
Yeah.
that he was.
He has filed bankruptcy in 2011, and here's this one document.
Hmm. Hmm. Well, that's so interesting. It's not enough just to say you couldn't pay it back. It's important that you have something to really show it's worthless, but the
Yeah.
bankruptcy does extinguish the debt.
Yeah, definitely. So.
I don't notice the bankruptcy is in 2012 though. Why did you take the deduction in 2011?
Yeah, but in 2011, he has hired a lawyer to initiate some the bankruptcy proceedings. So according to section 166.
So I should grant a deduction based on a letter from your cousin?
We can talk about it later, but
We
because
can
we have a
provide
moving
some
expense.
the official
Yeah.
information later.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we
Actually,
can
sort of
get
move
more
on.
documentation if you want.
Okay. All right.
What about,
Yeah. Another thing I want to talk about.